and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Through the Curtain. This is a Talking Talent episode. I'm your host, Tommy T, joined as usual by my co-host, Double K, with Smokey Z running our sound behind the scenes. Tonight, folks, we're going to be reviewing CPW's High Times show that occurred a little over a week ago now from the King William Volunteer Fire Department in Aylett, Virginia. This was Double K, this was an interesting card, an interesting night. And we got some questions, we got some feedback, and we've got some, it was a night.
It was a night. I think that's probably the best possible way to describe it. It wasn't necessarily, in my opinion, a horrible night.
No, we've seen worse.
Yeah, we've seen worse. I don't think it was terrible, but there were definitely the questions that we have are certainly big questions. And the questions that I'm going to have, that I'll get to in a minute, happen right off the bat.
Sure. So this night kicked off, again, from the King William Volunteer Fire Department in Aylett, Virginia. And it started with, oddly, the CPW Heavyweight Championship being defended by the current champion, Sledge Gibson, who, mind you, has not held on to his title, because it was stolen from him by his challenger at this event at the last CPW show, and that's Salvation, who you and I have touted as having a lot of talent. However, I think when this match got underway, the flaws in his talent got exposed.
I agree with that. I think when we talked about it after the match was over, a lot of what we had seen and touted in Salvation, we realized we're really in 1 to 2 minute, maybe 3 to 5 minute squash matches that really just had him just beating everybody down.
Yeah.
Because he is a dominant, imposing figure, as we've said. I'm not going back on that. Because, you look at the guy, that's exactly what he is, but that's the type of match that fits.
Sure.
Salvation. I think when the match really got going and when it all is said and done, he was just severely outmatched by the champ. Just the skill set, the move set, the speed with which Gibson moves in the ring, I think, was a little bit hard to keep up with.
So, and something else that I noticed in that match in particular is, we've tended to blend these broadcasts between kayfabe and reality and partnering with the different venues. Some of them prefer that more than others. But this one, I want to go back to our core of what we've talked about with, what it looks like from a fan's perspective. And when I watched that match, I was really happy to see Salvation get a push, because we've talked about what we thought he was capable of.
Absolutely, no doubt.
And this was yet another example of what it looks like when you put two guys that are two different talent levels in the ring together and then try to make it work. And there were a couple things, too, that didn't help this situation. CPW parading Rhonda DeVault, as they announced it. It was Ronnie DeVault that they sent dressed in a maid outfit in the middle of your heavyweight championship bout.
Here's how I feel about it, honestly. And, what I'm about to say may make some people happy because it's being talked about and it has to be said, and it may make others unhappy. I don't apologize, so here we go. I feel like any promotion should have more respect for their heavyweight championship. Not necessarily, I'm talking about the title. That title should be a symbol of achievement. It should be a symbol of excellence, and that title, that symbol, should be the pride of your promotion. The people who have held those titles throughout the history in any promotion have worked their asses off to get that day in and day out, in the ring, in the gym.
And even the challengers
absolutely
have worked very hard and very diligently to be on the other side of that match.
Sure. So there's a time and a place for everything. I don't understand why literally in the middle of the match you parade DeVault out there in a dress and a freaking Burger King crown in the middle of the match again. It's just very frustrating to me. And announce to the crowd for everyone to take your eyes off of the heavyweight championship match that's going on in the ring, which both of these guys have worked their asses off for to get. Take your eyes off of that match and what's actually happening, and let's look at this sideshow over here.
So when I watched this match, and myself and some of the CPW leadership, I actually discussed it with them later on in the show that I didn't think this was a bad show. I had some questions, but we're talking about those questions now. CPW has stepped up their game. They've gotten better in their production value and what
Absolutely.
they're putting out as a product. But this one really confused me, and the reason why was because, one, there was a clear mismatch in the ring. So Salvation, my piece on him is going to be everything that I've said about him, I still hold true. The guy's, his stature, his entrance, the music,
Absolutely.
the way he presents himself, all of that is outstanding. Mm-hmm. However, his ability to sell, well, what ability is my response to that?
Yeah, I mean,
there were several moves that were delivered by Sledge Gibson that I think if you ask Salvation if they happened, he would tell you he doesn't remember because he didn't respond to them.
Right. I mean, for any successful match on any level, I don't care if it's a title match or if it's, what should be, typically your gimmick matches, things like that. The match only works if you have two people in there.
Sure.
Working together to put on this show. And I'm not saying that Salvation wasn't trying. That's not at all by any stretch of the imagination what I'm saying. I'm saying what you was his ability to sell the moves that were being given by Sledge Gibson was non-existent. It was very stiff, and,
Now, so I'm going to defend that a little bit because I just had an epiphany that came through, and what I thought about was I was trying to think about watching another mainstream performer that we've seen that kind of response from. And so do you know who comes to my mind directly? So I think back to 1997 when we saw Kane debut. Mm-hmm. The original masked Kane at Hell in a Cell. For years, we watched that dude's inability to sell a move in any level. In fact, I'm pretty sure he was the king of no selling, considering how many tombstones the Undertaker had to give him in order for him to stay down.
Yeah, I mean, I
but
agree.
The chops, the throat punches, everything that was done to him, he just didn't do a good job of selling it. So part of that could be the character. It could be by design. And so I do want to give him credit for that if that's the intention. But from a fan's perspective, it was disheartening. And the reason why was not because I think he's a bad performer. It was disheartening because I don't understand how you put the CPW Heavyweight Championship on the line between two guys that, in my opinion, had zero in-ring chemistry. Zero in-ring chemistry. You don't create a successful product by putting two guys in the ring that either A, don't want to be in the ring together, B, don't have a desire to put on a great show, which I don't think that's the case on the behalf of either of the two guys that
Absolutely
were in that
not.
ring.
Mm-mm.
Or C, they just aren't the right fit.
Right.
You can't put a Braun Strowman in a ring with, let's go back to an Eddie Guerrero. Two completely different style of wrestlers. Right. You've got a brawler and a technical wrestler. You couldn't do a Chris Benoit and a Bill Goldberg. Two very different styles of wrestlers. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why the Bill Goldberg-Brock Lesnar feud worked 2 years ago was because you let them do what was good for them, which was just go out there and beat up each other.
Right.
It wasn't a technical match. It wasn't anything fancy. There was nothing exciting about it. But they did that because that's what worked for them. What they tried to do with Sledge Gibson in Salvation didn't do either man any justice, didn't do their title any justice,
no.
And it was not a great way to kick off your show.
No, I 100% agree. But, I think some of it, too, everything you said is spot on, and I think part of it is where, and we've even said it on our show many times, Salvation has been built and billed to be this dominant monster. Kane. Yeah. Right? So,
which, again, like I said, some of that may be part of the gimmick.
Sure, but up until now, they've been ridiculous squash matches. And when I say ridiculous, I don't mean they were ridiculous showings. I mean ridiculous in the size differential in Salvation compared to the people he's been in there with.
Sure.
It would not. I mean, it was your Braun Strowman versus your local jobber on a Monday night kind of match, and then
the previous matches.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we go straight to the top. We go straight from that straight to Sledge Gibson. There was no gradual upgrade in talent that he was facing.
No, and we saw evidence of that too when we've seen folks that, they've paired with Leo Kirby, who, we've spoken about many times. I'm still a huge fan of him.
Absolutely.
But, you can put somebody that's a very talented individual in the ring with somebody who isn't. And I'm going to tell you, the quality of the product doesn't change.
No.
You're still not going to get a 5-star match out of a 2-star player.
No. Well, and again, I go back to what I was slightly ranting about earlier. You have this type of match. You know what? You have to live with it. Once it starts, you have to live with it.
You do have to live with it, but they could have avoided it altogether, and you want to know how? And that's by making a booking decision that makes sense for the card. So you give them a gimmick match, you give them a strap match, you give them, even if it's something ridiculous, you give them something they can work with that they can sell. Because I tell you what didn't happen. They didn't sell a single fan in that arena on that match.
No, it needed to be just a straight up King William Aylett street fight. Give them some sticks. Give them some trash cans.
No, give them some chain.
Whatever.
Let Sledge use a sledge.
Yeah, I mean, to honestly, and again, not taking away from Salvation, and certainly not taking away from Sledge Gibson. If anybody who knew that match was going on expected that to be a banger, expected that to be a great match, you got to have your head checked a little bit.
Well, and some of this too. So I'm going to own some of it as a fan, and here's the reason why. We knew Salvation. We knew what we had seen from him, and we knew what we were going to get from Sledge Gibson. So again, you're taking two guys with two completely different styles and putting them in the ring together,
sure,
and expecting a great outcome. So one of the things to that is, don't overhype it yourself as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that on every level of the business as well, where, I've been super excited for a match and it didn't deliver quite. My first match that comes to my head on that is Shawn Michaels Taker 2, WrestleMania 26.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way that they were going to outdo what they did the year before.
No.
And so, but as fans, we built ourselves up expecting that second match to be everything that the first match was.
Sure.
So some of that we did to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't put the fault here on either Salvation or Sledge Gibson.
No.
Clearly, the folks that book the shows, that know the shows, you know what these guys' caliber is, you know what they can perform and what they can do and what they can't do, so you own it when you make that decision.
And honestly, if you look at it, once you put it on paper and once you look at it and you see it and discuss it with whoever it is that you discuss it with, and you understand and you can say to yourself, I know this is our heavyweight title match, but it's gonna stink. I'm gonna put it on first.
Well,
that should be that should be the only key that you need. Don't do it.
Well,
back away, or
you find a way to save it.
Find a way to save it, like we were talking about street fights, gimmick matches,
a cage match. Give me something.
Yeah.
That these two guys could work with.
Yeah.
You can't take what I got here, and I'm going to actually put it into the best description I could. So let's say that we were going to put a Seth Rollins versus Kane in a match, the original Kane from 1997, and say, hey, guys, go have a technical wrestling match.
It's not going to happen.
No. You want to know why?
On any planet, it's not going to happen.
Because one of them's not a technical wrestler.
Right.
Sledge Gibson has the ability to deliver on his moves, his movesets, his caliber, his performance, every aspect of what he does. Salvation has the same ability. So I don't want anybody to take anything away that I'm burying Salvation in this, because I'm not.
Nope.
I still stand by everything I've ever said about the guy. But you didn't put him in the ring against somebody that he was going to work well with.
Well, you didn't do, I think you may have said it earlier, didn't do either guy any favors.
No. So I think we've done this one enough. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you that unfortunately for the CPW Heavyweight Championship, CPW kicked their show off with a 1-star match for me.
I 100% agree. It was one.
So I apologize to both of the guys that were in that match because I don't think it was their fault. But I don't think this was it wasn't a great way to start the show. I don't mind the title match being the first match. I really don't, given the other matches that were on the card and the way they ended it with the Ultimate X match. But I just think you have to do a better job of, if nothing else, just building the gimmick around something that's going to work.
Absolutely.
That's my piece on that. I'm done with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm done with it. And like I said, it was not a great way to start the show, but by no means did it ruin the show.
No, not at all. And as we've said before, CPW has done a great job with trying to build their production value and what they're capable of doing it. They did it again. They upped the bar with the Ultimate X match here. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Right.
But so next up, I'll let you take the lead.
We had Kid USA taking on Ray Vex. And we saw something in the entrances for this match that we hadn't seen in quite a while. And it was a pleasant sight. We saw Ray Vex get back to his roots a little bit with the straight jacket and the crazy Ray gimmick.
Yeah, so what was interesting about this match was when we saw Ray Vex came out, he had a gimmick. Mm-hmm. That's unlike what we've seen in the past several times that we've seen him. You and I have actually had the chance to talk with him off the air to talk about the things we've said. And, we always encourage folks that if you've got something you want to talk to us about, or if you feel some kind of way about what we said, then let us know. We're human beings. We're not perfect. Everything we do is opinionated, just like everybody else that's on the planet. We all have opinions.
Everybody's got one.
We just have the ability to voice ours, and we also fully understand that not everybody's going to agree with us, and that's okay. We can respectfully agree to disagree as adults.
But you know what, though? Honestly, I don't know if it was the gimmick. I don't know what it was, but he looked great. Ray looked really good. I mean, he looked focused, he looked committed, he looked
the
intense.
Intent was there.
Right, it was there.
The intent was there, and it was just so nice. Even his in-ring work, you could tell that it's almost like he had lost his passion recently.
Mm-hmm.
And with this match, you were able to see a little bit of that come back out. I don't know if he's still trying to find his way in this, and he might be. We've talked about before, but maybe the no gimmick is his gimmick. But we've seen how well that doesn't work, and it does work in some cases.
Sure.
But it was nice to see him actually come out and own something. He still ended up taking the L in this.
He did.
In this match. Kid USA taking the victory. The original Kid USA.
Not 5, 6, or 7?
Not 5, 6, or 7. Not the lavishing Kid USA. Just Kid USA. But it was not a bad match. Kid USA is still, you can see, we don't see him as much as we used to, but you can still see that he's still trying to hone his craft as well. But I'll take the chance that I get to see Ray Vex continue to broaden his craft.
Absolutely.
And actually get back to letting the fans see what he's actually trying to be.
But like you said, this match wasn't a bad match. It was a good match.
No.
To me, this was the show starter.
Okay.
After that mess that happened right before this match, this really kind of
kicked it off
for me, for sure. I was into it. Like I said, it was exciting to see Ray. It was exciting to see Kid USA. And they put on a good show and kind of pulled that crowd back in and actually got the night off on the right foot.
Yeah. So, again, great match. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I was at 2.5 stars on this one.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was right there with you. No, I'm not cheating off your paper, but
that's fine. You can't read my handwriting, anyways. That's worse than a kindergartner.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah, I did have it at 2.5 stars, and good job to both guys, and that was the right way to kick off a night.
So immediately following this match, Brent Fleener, the legendary Brent Fleener, began to talk, and out of nowhere, there was this harmonic sound of a violin that really came out of nowhere. And it wasn't what you could tell that the CPW folks were just as confused about it as we were. Our live broadcast, you can even hear it.
Well, it took me a minute or two to even figure out where it was.
Yeah. We had to figure out where it came from. It actually ends up coming down from the rafters of the venue there, and down the stairs, through the crowd. Almost as cheesy as over the river and through the woods.
I'm going to need you to pull it together.
Yeah, well, anybody that knows me knows how difficult it is for me to pull my words together.
I just wish they could have seen that pause I just had to see.
Well, my lips had a stroke while I was talking. So, but we learned as the violin playing continued and he walked around the ring and towards the entrance ramp.
Very pompous.
Arrogant.
Arrogant.
There was a sense of earned appreciation that I'm not sure where it came from. Never seen the guy wrestle before, to my knowledge.
No.
But we learned what his name was. You want to go ahead and introduce him?
Yeah, so as he was telling the crowd that they were welcome for being able to hear him perform, he introduced himself as Jefferson Amati. And again, just I think the best way I could describe his words and actions and the way he carried himself was just very arrogant and almost as if he, like you said, earned appreciation. I think it was more expected appreciation just because he was there.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely evident in his mannerisms of how he carried himself as he walked towards the back.
Yeah, I mean...
So we'll see what comes of that as we move on to the future. I'll let you go ahead and take the lead as we go into our next match.
You know what? I think this one should be your intro.
You think so?
I think so.
You think so?
I think this should be you.
So, folks, we're going to move on to our next match of the evening, which was El Burrito versus, what a man, Rip Sawyer. So, I'm a huge fan of Rip Sawyer. It's always great to see somebody who can, still get in the ring and go after years and years and years of doing this, and Rip still looks great. Still looks like he can go. He's actually proven now a couple of times that he can go.
Absolutely,
we've seen it, and we also got the opportunity to see El Burrito again, and Rip Sawyer, he kind of took El Burrito through a learning and talent lesson in the ring.
He absolutely did.
He kind of showed El Burrito what it means to earn your stripes or sauce.
We'll go with stripes.
Okay.
I didn't really see sauce, but
well, I mean, he's a burrito.
Okay, fair. I think the closest thing we got to sauce was, and you and I questioned this during the match, was at some point Rip had El Burrito on the ground and appeared to get extremely hot.
Yeah.
And Ace Dalton comes over with some sort of substance that we didn't know what it was at first and sprays him down. So apparently what this is, I did some investigative reporting.
Okay.
And was able.
What did you learn?
I was able to catch a very small, quick, off-the-record interview with Rip Sawyer.
Oh, okay.
I was. What that is during a match when...
What that is?
Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for Tommy T. I'm not sure what happened to him years ago, but it is 100% affecting his performance now. Anyway, back to it. When Rip is feeling heat from a lovely lady at ringside, I can't make this up.
So when he's feeling...
So when that takes place, he needs Ace to come by and spray him down with the water just to cool him off so he can get through the rest of the match.
Okay, I got it. That makes a little bit more sense now than it did when we saw it there at the show.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
So, Again, another opportunity to see El Burrito here. And it was another showing where he didn't really get to do much.
You know what? He did more than what we've seen in the past. You know, he actually had created, you know, we saw a more unique style of offense or defensive offense.
Defensive offense.
That is what I'm going to call what we saw.
Okay.
You know, because it makes more sense. He's a much smaller guy than Rip Sawyer.
Yeah, Rip's probably at least twice his size.
So, you know, if you think about when Rip was chasing him around, and he dives back in the ring, and just before Rip gets there, he hits all fours and has Rip trip over him. I mean, that's... So, then, you know, full speed, Rip hits him and literally falls over top of him.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, that's defensive offense.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, in typical Rip Sawyer fashion, he came in, had some pretty slick moves, and still walked away with the victory over El Burrito. So for me, I'm going to stick with my theme here and go with 2.5 stars.
Yeah. I think I've got to agree with you on that one.
So the next segment was R.C. Loving and Hillbilly Kid, and I'd spend more talking about it if it was a segment that was worth talking about.
Agreed. It was not good. Kind of a time killer.
And perhaps maybe that's what it was designed for.
Yeah.
You know, it just I don't really understand the purpose of it. It was a wrestling exhibition, but I wasn't sure where they were going with it. But it was something that they wanted to do. They did it. I'm not sure what was accomplished by it. Perhaps building some sort of feud between Little Lovin' and Hillbilly Kid.
Yeah, I mean, and if that's the case, then they did
well.
that.
Yeah,
they did
well.
their job, if that was the purpose.
It's there was a whole lot of loving in that ring, though.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the lead on the next one. I struggle with pronunciation sometimes.
That you do. So, yeah, thanks for letting me take this one. We
No
had
problem.
L.A. Tank. That's L.A. Tank.
L.A. Tank.
Right.
Got
L.A.
it.
Tank.
Got it.
Versus Triple Fears Kevin Mears. And what I'm going to go ahead and lead off with, you know what I'm going to call it.
Oh, yeah. We get it at least once every show.
I mean, this match was a smash mouth match.
Yeah. Well, you had two pretty decent-sized guys.
Yeah.
Both of which are agile. Kevin Mears, clearly the more agile of the two of them. Mm-hmm. L.A. Tank, nothing to be taken from him either.
No.
Both guys hard-hitting, roughneck kind of wrestlers. Kevin Mears surprises us a little bit with his technical ability and his ability to move around as quickly as he can. But again, nothing to be taken from L.A. Tank on this either. Both guys put on a great show. One of my favorite matches of the night.
Yeah, I would dare say I'll give it my second favorite match of the night.
Yeah, and I enjoy Kevin Mears anytime I get the chance to watch him wrestle. He's become one of my favored talents that I enjoy watching perform in the ring. So I look forward to see what and where he wrestles in the future.
Yeah, well, I would dare say that wherever he wrestles, you know, he's probably going to have some golden opportunities coming his way. So it'll be exciting to see what the future holds. But, I mean, every time we see Kevin, you know, he seems to break out something new, a little more athletic each time.
Sure.
You know, we know he's got the power, but like you said, seeing the agility and the speed and the athleticism that's starting to come. And again, not taking anything away from L.A. Tank.
Who got the victory in that match.
Who ended up taking the victory, absolutely. So I think for a bigger man, he's the bigger man of the two. I could say a lot of the same things. He may not be as fast or as quick, but for his size, I mean, this is a big man.
Yeah.
He moves extremely well in the ring. And I guarantee you that every time he laid one of those big right hands in there, Kevin Mears felt every single bit of it.
Oh, I don't have a question in my mind about that. Both of these guys, like we said, decent-sized guys. both can put on a great show too, as well.
They did. It was a good match. I really enjoyed the match.
Yeah, so this is going to be my first 3-star match of the night.
I was trying to say it before you did. Yeah, I've got it at 3 myself.
So congratulations to those guys. First 3-star match of the night. And moving on to the next match was our first and only tag team match of the night, where we got to see two groups that we've actually enjoyed seeing. We got to see this feud was set into place by the previous CPW show, Capital Vices versus the Geordie Bulldogs for the CPW Tag Team Championships. Great match. Their performance was great. Again, guys that move around well. They sell well. They perform well. All around, just talented guys. Every match has opportunities. There's no difference here. But it's entertaining. I think the Capital Vices have a huge potential for where they could go and what they could do.
Yeah.
The Geordie Bulldogs, the current CPW, and retained their titles in this match. It is clear to see that these guys are talented at what they do. They probably do the tag team game better than most other tag teams we've seen on the indie scene. And isolating, we saw that very well also in the Hellcats match when we were at VCW, isolating their opponent in the corner.
Yep.
So two teams that have executed that really well. So I'm just excited to see where this goes in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams do an excellent job of setting the tone as soon as they come through the curtain.
Sure. Cheap.
Cheap pop. So, when Capital Vices comes through with that, just the look, They give that look and feel of something bad, something nasty is about to go down. Somebody's about to take a beating. Yeah. There's aggression. The Geordie Bulldogs come out, and they're 100% about their business. You know what they're there to do, but it also gives that vibe that they're going to have a good time doing it.
Sure.
So
I enjoy what they do. You can tell that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoy both of these teams, and like you said, I'm excited to see what happens, where they go in the future. The Geordie Bulldogs aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
Defending those tag titles.
What we didn't see here was we didn't see Timmy Danger or the Suctuary interfere anywhere in this match.
No. I think at this point in the night, after early on, I think Timmy was still healing from the guardrail attack.
Yes, I'm confident that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
In case the fans missed that, there was an opportunity where Timmy Danger interfered at the end of the CPW heavyweight title match, and he was taken out by a guardrail on his way to the ring, which is kind of like the story of his career of small obstacles of preventing him from doing anything successful. So the attack on Sledge Gibson for the second consecutive show, now allowing the CPW heavyweight title to leave with someone who wasn't the champion.
Right.
So, but not to distract from the tag team title match, the Geordie Bulldogs remained the CPW tag team champions. And for me, I'm going to stick with 3 stars for the Geordie Bulldogs versus Capital Vices.
See, I actually had this one, again, I had this one at 3.5.
Okay.
So I had it just a little bit higher. Again, I just really thoroughly enjoy these guys. It was a great match. They both put on a great show every time they're in the ring. So, I had this one at 3.5.
Okay. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take the lead about the next event that occurred at this show. Let's spend a couple minutes here talking about this and sharing some thoughts.
Well, before I do it, we're going to talk about the heinous attack on Brent Fleener. Hopefully Brent's all right. I know he left in a kind of a battered, bloody mess after a ridiculous attack from, what may be the shortest, I won't say competitor because he doesn't really compete for much. We'll say the shortest snake in the bunch in KR Superstar and his cohort Humphrey J. DuPont the fourth, who were supposed to be suspended. They weren't supposed to be in the building. Just before the ultimate, the Ultimate X match took place, we didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it.
No.
The guys, they were not in the building. To this day, we're almost 2 weeks past. I don't even know where they came from. But viciously attacked Brent Fleener as he was getting ready to introduce the contestants for the Ultimate X match. And again, I mean, it was disgusting, and it was brutal.
So I had the opportunity to speak briefly with Brent, and he says that he is recovering well.
Good.
His wife posted on Facebook that he's got a significant list of injuries that were sustained from that attack. But the only thing that KR Superstar and Humphrey J. DuPont have proven continuously is that the only challenge that they're willing to accept is one that their opponents don't see coming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you think back, they've attacked, 4 or 5 performers at this point. One including heavyweight champion Sledge Gibson. Mm-hmm. Now, they've...
Strangely, while he was running down an isolated road and 2 random old people walking next
old women,
to
to be specific.
Yeah.
With walkers and dresses.
Yeah.
They've attacked Michael Burnett, Hillbilly Kid. They dragged Ronnie Dayvault behind a truck and shaved his head, which on that particular one was probably deserved.
That's true.
That's true. They've attacked
the one and only Dave Hebner in his own home.
Absolutely. I mean, and what did he do?
Nothing.
Honestly, what could he have done?
Right.
So these guys, to me, these 2 guys are bona fide losers. In every sense of the word. Like you said, the only thing that they can or ever would do would be to accept a challenge if they can attack that challenge from behind.
Yeah. So it's my thoughts on KR Superstar and Humphrey J. DuPont is that they would do CPW and its fans a lot of good by getting stuck in Humphrey's mom's closet and not coming back out. Because the only thing that they can achieve in CPW is burying that promotion with their style.
Yeah.
So KR Tiny Star and Humphrey J. DuPont, the 956th, are now indefinitely suspended from CPW. Mm-hmm. My bigger question here is that clearly the folks at CPW don't understand what security is, and those neon shirts don't do any good when you can't stop somebody that's not even tall enough to see over the guardrail without a booster seat and the other one dressed as his mother from getting over the guardrail to attack your ring announcer who could have easily been 12 feet away from him.
I mean, the time has come that if this continues, handcuffs and blue lights are necessary.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that there's anything that's not necessary at this point with those 2 clowns.
They will need extra small shackles for KR, though.
Just zip ties. They can stick with those. That'll be fine.
I saw some handcuffs in Walmart once in the kids section that might work.
That's true.
Okay.
They've got them at the arcade too. That's
true.
I figure that's probably where those guys hang out. That looks like that's where Humphrey gets his clothes from. So, moving on to CPW's main event for High Times. This was the CPW's first Ultimate X match. Clearly the most anticipated match of the night. It delivered on the excitement. We got to see the structure. Folks, if you didn't get a chance to see that, take a look at CPW's Facebook page, as well as some other groups out there that have posted pictures, that whether it be Facebook, their blog sites, things of that nature. You can see pictures of this structure, and it was impressive.
Yeah.
CPW did that well with the CPW Mid-Atlantic Championship hanging from it or wrapped around it.
It was on top.
Okay. So 4 competitors in this match. We got to see Braswell, the defending CPW Mid-Atlantic champion, Ethan Cross, Isaiah Frazier, and then, of course, one of the guys that I'm a huge fan of, and that's Lavishing Leo Kirby. So, I thought this match was done well. I don't feel like they rushed it, but I was expecting it to be longer than what it was. Typically, an Ultimate X match would be something that I would expect to last 10, 15 minutes. I think we got less than 10 out of it. Several injuries that occurred throughout that match due to the structure.
A lot of injuries a couple of these guys came into the match with injuries existing. So I'm sure that wrestling with a structure like this did not make them any better, and in all likelihood made some worse.
Sure, I'm positive that that's probably the case. Altogether, though, the new CPW Mid-Atlantic champion Ethan Cross climbing the structure. Multiple times in this match, we got to see several of these guys climb the structure, interact. There was some dangling moments, several of them kicking each other, all four men falling off the structure at one point. Some definitely high-impact, high-risk maneuvers.
Probably my favorite move of the entire match. And I made it a point when the show was over to go over to Gordon Braswell and tell him about this. Was the point where I think it was Isaiah Frazier was dangling almost midway from the turnbuckle to the center of the ring from the top of the structure. And Gordon Braswell climbs the ropes and dives off with a spear. Literally spears this kid off of the structure. And it was great. I really enjoyed the match. Clearly, I think as intended for everybody, this was my favorite match of the night.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify it as the same level as the LA Tank Kevin Mears match for me. This is the premier match, so if I had to compare those two, then yes, this was my favorite. But it was also the premier match of the night. So,
right, sure.
It was entertaining to watch. I look forward to when CPW has a chance to do this again in the future. Mm-hmm. Perhaps hanging the title instead of wrapping it around the structure.
I tell you what, that the way it was up there did cause some problems for when Ethan Cross actually pulled it down.
Yeah, almost dropped it.
He literally almost gave the title to Leo Kirby, who was
right underneath
who was laying on the ground underneath him. He undoes the buttons, the strap, and literally it just falls.
Well, it's just not Velcro like the Universal Championship is.
Thank God. And he ends up catching it with his feet.
Yeah.
Which was, that was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
He literally saved the title with his feet from falling into the hands of Leo Kirby. Literally, not figuratively.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that match for me was a 4-star match.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I had it too.
Okay. So, folks, that's going to wrap up our review for CPW's High Times that was held from the King William Volunteer Fire Department in Aylett, Virginia. A good card, some questions that we had about some of the decisions that were made, but overall a good show from CPW. Not their best show, not their worst show.
Right.
But we look forward as that promotion continues to grow and really find who they are and what they are as this moves forward. We do encourage folks to get out there and take a look at their programs whenever you get the chance. It is evident that they are still trying to grow their brand.
Sure.
So we look forward to coming to you. Our next show, I believe, will be a live broadcast that we're going to be bringing to you from, I want to say it's June 5th?
June 15th, I do believe.
June 15th, which will be at the Masonic Temple in Norfolk, Virginia, where we will be broadcasting for VCW. This will be our first broadcast from the Masonic Temple for VCW. We've done other venues with them. This will be the first broadcast from the temple there. So that will be exciting, where they will have none other but the original bad guy, Scott Hall, will be in attendance at that show. So we look forward to that. And, we're going to continue to expand our podcast, guys, as much as we can, and continue to partner with other agencies. So as for myself, this is Tommy T.
Double K.
Smokey Z behind the scenes, folks, and we will see you the next time the bell tolls.